Hey guys, welcome to episode 4 of GladiEditors. Before we start this week's special episode, we're going to announce the winner for my taken last week of my friend DJ Liana, and the winners are in. So with 17 votes, we've got Sam, and with 19 votes, we've got Sam.
So
that's
I thought you meant the other Sam for a second.
No. The winner takes it all.
The Sam's won. There you go.
No, we need nicknames.
Well, how about we could just call you Winner Sam, and I could be Loser Sam, maybe.
That works for me too.
Yeah, cool.
Welcome to GladiEditors. This is Editus Maximus, and this week we'll be editing a photo I took of him in Liverpool.
All right, so we'll start with the losing Sam going first, sharing their picture of Editus, the GladiEditor. So here we go. And
Editor.
I just start again with a few seconds just to consider what crop I go with. I mean, I actually thought about just not adjusting the crop, just leaving it how it was. But then I thought, no, I'll tweak a few things. I started just by maybe like adjusting the horizon line. I'm not entirely sure that's level though, because you got the canal docks in the background, and then the ledge here. So I wasn't sure what reference to use really. Just whatever felt right there. And then I tried a different crop, a square crop this time. I can't tell you why really. I just felt like it just felt right. Especially then when you can use the rule of thirds grid here, and get a really nice sort of framing with Editus right on the point of the bottom right hand third, which is where I kind of want him. And just using that square crop really made me just visualize all the quadrants nicely and just get like a precise composition. And I think it works quite well with the ledge you've got here as well, like the geometry of the lines going from the foreground into the midground of the image, and then going across like that. So that's why I think that felt right in the end. And then just adding in a few gradients again. Trusty gradients again. But all I was trying to do, because it was, I think, I don't know if it was taken in the afternoon or evening, was it, Brian?
It was in the evening, yeah.
Yeah. So I just wanted to try and play with the like the sunsetty kind of vibe to it, and obviously in the clouds already there was this kind of nice sort of orange and blue tones to it. So I just wanted to try and milk that a little and make it feel quite ambient and make it sort of glow a little bit. So just playing again with the HSL tabs and sliders just to get the blues and purples kind of how I want them, not too dark. And then the same again with the oranges just there. And I found when I was doing this, there was quite a lot of highlights in the sky. So I wanted to try and, use that a little bit to give the impression you've got the sun like really shining through. But at the same time, I didn't want to make it too distracting. So later on in the edit, I kind of have to balance that a little bit. And just comparing there what the photo was like before to now, and just whether I'm actually destroying the image or enhancing it. So I think using that kind of, that exposure level, I've kind of got the highlights in the sky, but I don't think they're too distracting. But I'll probably, adjust that in a little bit. And then I found that, like you were saying last week, Sam, since they've introduced texture to Lightroom in the update, I prefer that over clarity now. Just clarity kind of, I don't know, it doesn't, makes the image just doesn't feel right. So I think I've got a bit more detail, just brought out a little bit using the texture slider, and then just doing my old sort of go-to sharpening and masking combination of things, just to like really sharpen the key bits and the edges of the image rather than the whole image as a whole. And then using the vignette just to really draw the eye onto Editus, rather than the entire image, and then the radial filter, so a bit different than the gradient, but just another way in conjunction with the vignetting, just to really draw the eye into the center of the picture, or where Editus is. But at the same time, it's a really nice location with the Liver building in the background, and just Liverpool docks as a whole. So it's really nice about how this picture has that context in the background. Really gives you like that sense of place to the picture. And now it's just a case of just cleaning up a bit of the grain I enhanced using a texture slider, just using the luminance tab, and then just to juxtapose the top right hand gradient I've got to bring out the sunset and the sunlight coming in from the top of the picture. I'm using another gradient at the bottom left just to darken the image and introduce sort of a cooler color temperature, just to kind of balance the image and try and play with that orange and teal effect. So I just try and get that nailed really with the time I have left. And this is basically my final image. It took me exactly 5 minutes actually to edit. So I think this is the quickest edit I've done so far on this show. So that's good. Again, it's because the photo was just taken well in camera, so that helped a lot. And yeah, I think lifting the shadows was the only key thing I forgot to mention while I was talking through the edit there. I felt like, because I wanted to get that evening sort of sunset glow to the picture, even though there are harder shadows around that time of day at sunset usually. I think in this setting, just lifting the shadows a bit more, just give it that kind of softer feel to that overall image. So that's basically everything I did really, in a nutshell.
Nice, really good. I think I didn't even think about square crop on this at all, and it works really well. I think I was looking, longer for me. I was thinking I struggled with the crop myself, and I think square works really nicely. And I love the cold tones with the warm tones you've brought in. I messed around with the color, and yeah, I really like how the contrast is the blue colder tones on the left, the warmer tones, and it's mad because you've got the sun coming from the right hand corner, and the sun's actually way over to the left, like the real sun, and where the photo is.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
I didn't realise.
Like some bright clouds, or some would say overexposed, but we'll go with bright clouds. And you made it look like the sun is setting, or over in that side, which is really interesting to be able to edit it and change the direction of the sun, change the light. So yeah, I really like it. I think really good. Love the colours on it.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Ryan. Like for me, it's the colouring. I think when I went through mine, I struggled to think about it in a creative sense, but I too did the same crop.
Oh, really?
funny enough, actually, I was looking through, and I'll go through it in my video as well, but I was actually looking through 16:9, all this stuff, because there was a lot of stuff, but I think there was so much negative space in the photo as well, because obviously the subject's so small. So bringing that tighter crop and being that 1-to-1, kind of was a bit more of compositionally was maybe a better choice. But again, it was just so, it just happened naturally. I just kind of went oh, I like it in square, good for Instagram or anything like that. But yeah, no, but I really like the colors. I didn't even think about, I need to start following you and actually using gradients and things like that, because it's the one thing I still don't really use.
I've definitely been gradients more after watching you do it in these episodes, but I've never played around with the color of the gradients. You just did it there, and you lowered the temperature, you heightened the temperature, which I was wow, I've never even thought of that. When I do a gradient, it's black, and it's normally editing the vignette. So the way you've used gradients here to add the warm tones and the cold tones, that's interesting. I like how you thought that.
It's basically, I think that Lightroom uses that feature just to replicate, what they call the filters you can get for your cameras. So that's what it's meant to replicate. But then just because you can change the temperature of it as well, it kind of means you can get a color density, like an orange filter, get that feel to it, or a blue filter, or even adjust the tint. So again, it was shout out to Peter McKinnon, because he basically put out a tutorial on that. But I watched that about 2 years ago now, and since then it's just a nice way to sort of get that feel of a filter in your photograph, even if you didn't actually use one on location with the picture. It's also because I'm not that advanced in Photoshop, so the more I can do in Lightroom, the better, really, I find. And so, yeah.
All right, guys, this is my edit of Editus. So yeah, I took him out and I placed him on there just to get the background in. I know that what he's actually sitting on is a bin, so I didn't like having the bin in there. But you guys, you didn't know it. It could have been a table or anything, but because it's a bin, I thought, right, I'm getting rid of it. So I cropped it, really panoramic crop. I freeformed it, so I'm not sure exactly what the measurements are, but I wanted to cut as much as the bin out as possible. So that's why I went for this very narrow panoramic crop. Yeah, jumped straight into the texture. It is a bit of a grainy shot. It was shot late in the evening. I didn't light it properly or anything like that. I just kind of plonked him on the bin and went for it. So it's a bit of grain to it. So I played around with the texture. I didn't like the blues in it. So if you've just seen then, I've just lowered the blues right down. I've tried to bring in the highlights of the sky. And similar, different to your shot, Sam, is the sun is setting just over to the left. So I wanted to bring that in. So I tried to bring the vibrancy up and the colors, which made it made the sun, and as you can see, it's a tiny bit on the left-hand side there. The oranges were coming through. I then jumped back onto the sharpening and noise correction. Again, just really trying to make it as crisp as possible for the image with it. A little bit of vignette, just to, again, hone in on Editus, keep him there. So yeah, I tried to give them sunset vibes as well. And yeah, I just wanted a bit deeper blacks to keep the dark shadows and the dark buildings behind of like Man Island. I brought down the blacks, but then that meant Editus was too dark. So I got the brush tool, went nice and close into Editus, drew around him almost with the brush tool, went as detailed as I could. I didn't want to go over the edges of him and get that glow. That you can clearly see when someone has done it badly, that you get a glow around the edges of a subject when you've brushed. So I was quite careful not to go around the edges, and then cranked it up, and then not too much. I didn't want it to look fake, but wanted it to be as bright as possible. And again, if I was going to do a proper shoot with him, I would have a nice little spotlight on him or something. So I wanted to replicate that in the editing. So yeah, just tweaking the brush tool. I want him to be as sharp as possible, so I sharpened it there. Had a little look at the overall photo. So I've gone, you went, Sam, quite light with your crop and everything, and it was a light image. Mine's a bit more darker, a bit more grungy. I've decided I will lighten it up, but I still want to keep the deep blacks and the deeper shadows on him. Again, I think I've got a vendetta against having him on the bin, so I'll try to get rid of him, adding that gradient in so you wouldn't even tell it was a bin. So yeah, played around with this a little bit, got as much of the bin out as possible, but without making him too dark. And then yeah, I wanted the gold of his helmet and the colour of him to shine through and stand out. So if I try to make the area around him quite dark, I want him to be the focal point. And as you've just seen, I clicked the wrong button and took all the colour out of the photo, so I put that back in. Again, I wanted the blues and I wanted that warmer, sunset look. So I'm individually heightening the saturation of the orange there and the reds. I just want a warmer look in general, which helps the gold and the yellow of Editus stand out a little bit more, I thought. After seeing yours, Sam, I quite like the blues that you had in yours. So it's something that maybe I'd improve in, is trying to keep that colour tone contrast of having blues and the yellows in there, because as you can see, I started to doubt myself there with what I've done with the colour. I've taken out all the blues and left it this really quite warm, orangey feel to it. And that's my final image. So yeah, I'm quite happy with it. I quite like how Editus stands out in it. He looks like almost like real gold. His helmet almost looks like real gold with the shine and the kind of contrast shadows on him. But yeah, I think I'm quite happy with it overall. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I was when you were just talking about, like, you know, I was thinking the same, like, you took out quite a lot of the blue, which isn't actually how you have done it quite well, though. Like, it's not like you haven't taken it out and it's like apparent that it's absent. Like, buildings mostly are gray, so, like, you know, sometimes the blue tint just comes from like reflection, or just, you know, just depending on like the color balance in camera. But I really like the I like the lower vignette. Like, again, I couldn't tell it was a bin. I thought it might have just been like a concrete, like one of those like pillars, like,
Yeah.
that you see sometimes. They're just like kind of just like big square, like pillar kind of things by the water. Because the reflection was quite nice actually, and that's maybe the only thing. Like, obviously he has like a reflection under him, so it's obviously a little bit matted, so it's not as distinctive of a shadow, or a reflection rather. But I also really like the, I guess you would say it was kind of like 10 by 30 or something, right? It's like it's really nice, like really cinematic, kind of really open, and I really like it. Scumwell.
Yeah, I think actually that crop is, I prefer that now, just because it makes it, because he's in the center and the crop is so narrow and slim, it doesn't actually detract from Editus, but it still gets that whole like epic background in as well, and it feels, it feels like a, you know, really kind of powerful shot in that way, especially because you got this small guy like almost the size of the building in the background. So I think this crop really, really makes him feel bigger in the picture as opposed to my square crop. And funnily enough, like, I know you said that how you liked how I kept the blues in with the yellows and stuff. When you actually took down accidentally the slider to get rid of your yellows in the picture, I actually really liked that.
Really?
I don't know why. Yeah, I felt like it, in keeping with that grungy tone you're going for, getting rid of the happier colours like the yellow colours.
Yeah.
Ultimately did that justice as well. So it's a, maybe, you know, I'd do that in future if I was to go for a grungy kind of feel.
Keep going with the yellows as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Nice. All right. Well, thanks, guys. Yeah, I'm quite happy with it. So yeah, over to you, Sam.
So hey guys, this is my edit of Editus. You know, so obviously I didn't know the location. I didn't know it was shot on a bin, but it looks very good. So I kind of went the same route as Sam and did like a one-to-one like square crop, like an Instagram kind of post. I didn't have my constraint lines on, so actually I couldn't really tell. So I just kind of freeballed like the rule of thirds. And then I just took down my highlights, because I always try and take down my highlights so I don't get like any, so I can kind of show like a bit more like detail in like the clouds and everything like that. So then I just like cranked up my exposure, lifted up my shadows just so I could show Editus off a little bit more. Also kind of gives me like a bit of like a nice, gives like a bit more of a flat profile. I tried to add dehazing and I kind of went maybe a bit too much, so I just brought it back down and then just brought in a little bit of color again, just because I feel like I took a little bit out earlier on when I was like lifting the shadows and it looked a bit flat at the time. So then I just kind of like changed my tone curve a little bit, just trying to brighten it up a little bit. And then again, we're just bringing up more of the shadows, just because I just wanted it to kind of really focus in on him. And then like you, Ryan, I think I kind of also went like that direction where I kind of wanted to bring in the oranges and the yellows, because I didn't want to lose it. Unfortunately, I don't think I got to the point where the helmet looked as shiny and as gold, and I can't actually really remember how you did that, so you'll have to like clarify with me at the end. And then a special episode. And then I just basically went in, I just really wanted to see how my sharpening was, so I just really wanted to get like a little bit closer, and so I just brought it down to about 25, just because, you know, if you go too much, it just kind of, you get like, almost looks like you've just got Vaseline on your lens, and then goes a bit too soft. And then I just changed my lens correction and just added a vignette just to draw focus into the subject. And then I just kind of did the spot removal, because this line was like really like driving me crazy like throughout the image that I was looking at. And then because there was a couple of open windows, I just kind of got rid of those as well. And again, like, this is what I love about Lightroom sometimes, is that the healing brush just picks like sometimes the best locations, and it just kind of does a really good job at it. and I just thought this would just kind of give it like a just more of a clean look, and I didn't have like these just like black spots that kind of showed up, and I didn't want it to be distracting. And then funny enough, actually, me and Sam did a couple of the same different things. I went in for a radial filter as well, just to focus around him, and I just upped the exposure, basically just to bring him back out. Because I know one thing that I always do when I edit is I tend to always like edit a little bit darker, especially more recently, maybe because my mood, everything's kind of changed, like my style a little bit in a way. So I basically just really wanted to bring up like the exposure and the shadows. I lifted the sharpness and then just took it down a little bit. I think I was meant to go up and I forgot to put it back up. And I was just looking to see if it worked better, if it was like inverted or not, and then just changed the feathering. So I didn't have like I didn't get like a harsh line. It just kind of gradually like smoothed out and kind of went a bit more like natural. And and that's my image. It was like a little bit more just like a very like easy one. I didn't want to do anything too crazy. I didn't want to change the colors or anything like that. So yeah.
I mean, basically, because it's very similar to mine. I love it. No, but I like, first of all, what you did with the spot removal, just cleaning up the glass building in the background. It does make it feel a lot cleaner, especially because I think those black windows were over Editus, and so without realizing it, they were kind of distracting from him. So that was a really good change I think you made there. I like then also how you've adjusted the colors in the sky. So you similar to mine, you've got that like kind of contrast, but it's not as like overt as what I tried to do. So you still got like the natural colors in the sky as well. So that's a great plus. And then I think then overall it just feels like a lot more evenly exposed. I think maybe in my picture when I added the gradient on the bottom left, I think it maybe might have like instead of balancing the gradient I had on the top right, it might have just unbalanced the picture a bit too much. Whereas I think with yours, the picture feels quite not like a nice even spread across. But you still got like that is very important. You added that radial filter, I think, towards the end, just on Editus. Because without that, I think you either got lost in the picture a little bit too much. But with that, and then all the other adjustments you've made, like especially lifting the shadows as well, I think you just got like it's just a nice picture. It just works overall, I think.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I feel like this image, it was just in my head. It was just like difficult to kind of like figure out like, oh, do I want to do anything like too crazy? Like I just wanted to kind of keep it nice and simple.
Yeah, I mean it's simple but effective, basically.
Yeah, it kept it natural. To me, that looks like a very well shot photograph. How you've edited it, when I don't think it was shot brilliantly, so it needed editing. You've edited it to make it look like a very good photo, if that makes sense. It's just now I look at that and go, that's a really nice shot. I think, yeah, it's mad, isn't it, taking different colours out. Like Sam, you had it, other Sam, sorry, should I say losing Sam? Has Sam. Like sunset, the colours, the cold tones, warm tones, when, you know, you've done the same kind of style, same colour, but you haven't got the contrast of tones there, and that gives it that natural kind of feel all over. And I think, yeah, something that I didn't even notice was the open windows of the building and how well it worked making Editus come out of the photo just by taking the spots behind him, because it makes that a bit more, I don't know, blank. It makes it a bit more like a frame for Editus now, like where the big building is at Man Island. It kind of frames Editus nicely, and you're not being distracted by the open windows or what look like black spots on the image. So yeah, it's good. I like it.
Cool.
Great.
Thank you.
Nice. Yeah. Right, well, we've got all three on the screen now. So what do we think now we're looking at all three?
Well, it's almost like looking at mine and Sam's. If you were to just put them side by side, at a glance, you might be looking at the same picture. But there's a few key differences when you know, if you look at it closely, There's a
stylistically they're similar, but you've got the what's nice with your Sam is that you've got the gradients coming left and right and like top to bottom as well, and it's like a natural one as well. So it's definitely like that's kind of I think where my shot got a little lost. Maybe even just if I just brought the crop in tighter as well, like just looking at yours. Maybe again, now knowing that this is a bin, maybe I would have, I would have actually like, and again, I really like Ryan's and the fact that like the colors are quite muted, but they're on GladiEditors on Editors. It's really like, he's really bold and really out there. So that would have been, I think, now that I look at it, those, I'd bring in a little bit of maybe both of yours just to kind of like bring in that like darkness, but also bring in like, and the contrast, but also bringing in some like color from the sides as well, like the natural colors.
Yeah, I definitely think Ryan's colors are probably the best. I think just because he was going that grungier tone anyway. Yeah, I think it just feels.
I really like the gold on the helmet of mine. For some reason, I just think it looks like real gold almost. You know, like because it's a bit grungier. But I like the way that you've changed the direction of the sun on yours. You know, you've got it where it looks like it's set over there, which obviously, as you can see the sun on my photo, but I like how it looks coming from the top right-hand corner look. So
that was an accident though. I think that's just how I saw it, but I was wrong. But I went with it anyway. Yeah.
It's quite funny though. You see it that way. I think it's because there's a really strong set of highlights. If you look at Sam's, there's a really strong set of highlights that are coming on his right side that aren't as there on his left. So again, because he's changed the crop as well, like we're seeing different parts of the image, and it's so whereas Ryan's you can see the sun, you can't. So you have to create that sense of like highlight.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think even on your picture, Sam, I think you can see where the sun's coming from in reality.
Yeah, I can see it in mine. It's like very like bright, just in the top, like pretty much the top center of the image is just like this really big blown out like spot where you can see the sun kind of coming through the clouds.
Yeah.
Right, guys. So I hope you like Editus, and I hope you like our editing of Editus. And make sure you head over to our Facebook page. Make sure you vote on your favourite edit, and we will announce the winner in our next battle episode. And also, if there's any ideas of where you like Editus photographed, how you like him, let us know in the comments. And
Ryan, why the hell? Why are we shooting JPEG? What's wrong with you?
Okay, hi guys, welcome to episode 4 of GladiEditors, and this.
Hey guys, this is
this is next, and I'm intrigued what you're eating. Sam, it looks like pork pies.
Pork pie.
Oh, it looks good.
The teeth, the lips, the tip, and the tongue.